G'day listeners and race fans, and welcome to another episode of the Round Bar Supercars Podcast, the podcast for the punters on the hill, by the punters on the hill. I'm Bails, I've got Matty and Marshy on the line, and we'll say g'day to them real soon. You're listening in on Spotify, Podbean or Apple Podcasts. All the links are in the show notes, and you can catch us on YouTube as well. Searching the Round Bar channel on Facebook to follow us on the socials. We did hit and surpassed the 500 mark over the weekend. No small feat to our man, Mr. Marsh. But before I continue, g'day Marshy.
G'day Bales, g'day Matthew.
G'day Matty.
I'm fantastic.
Ready to rock and roll. But yeah, well done Marshy. And another milestone that we kind of talked about in the planning for the last pod, but never actually spoke about in the last pod, was that was our 50th episode here on the Round Bar Supercars podcast. So pretty exciting stuff. We've been doing this for a few years now. We're punching out a few episodes, and I guess there are others that run weekly or more frequently than us, but I like to think making the 50s is fairly significant. So well done Marshy, well done Matty. Anything to say to the listeners?
Well, thanks.
Just keep listening.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I heard a stat that, I think something like 70% of podcasts get to 10 episodes and only 1 or 2% get past 50. So
really,
yeah, it's a credit to us, but also to the listeners that we're still going. So I reckon it's fantastic.
It's good. It's very good. Now we can lift the bat a little bit. I think that half century. We'll just keep ticking them over, and we'll get to that 100.
Head down and keep concentrating. One ball at a time.
More rounds would get there quicker, wouldn't we?
This is true. Absolutely. Well done, gents. Thanks for coming on and making it all happen. Came together a few years back, and looking forward to bringing a little bit more to the punters during this episode. So, as has been the custom over the last few months for our pod this year, we're brought to you by Biti Motors Culcairn, Membrey's Auto Electrics in Kundruk, and Cobrapparel. They help us produce our content, and those that have probably been long-time listeners or even followers on Facebook will have noticed that it's really ramped up over the last few months, and a lot of that's to do with Marshy and his work in the background, but also to our very supportive supporters and sponsors of us here on the pod. So, as is often the case in the recap pod, the news cycle headlines aren't huge because the majority of the chat's going to be about the racing over the weekend. But I did have two that will probably pique your interest. Since we last recorded, it emerged that Chev and Toyota had parity adjustments on the way out of Darwin and into Townsville. And it's fairly well confirmed with the MotoGP heading to Adelaide that we're going to lose turn 8. So that's a couple of significant ones. As always, you can chuck your own in there as well, gents. But anyone want to have a crack at one of those? Matty, you got a bit of a quizzical look on your face, so it looks like you're up, ready to fire on all 8 cylinders, pal.
All 8. Jeez, that's not often they're all going.
You could be Andre and drop one.
Yeah. Look, I didn't really catch too much in the news over the last couple of days. I suppose the removal of turn 8, it's been a bit of a clinger for a little while now. So I guess that just kind of is what it is. Might remove a little bit of excitement from the weekend, but the other one, just around the parity piece, I don't know. As always, I've been fairly sceptical of the parity discussion, but my point has been maintained that let's just get it sorted, and if it needs to be done, it should be done, and let's move past it. So whatever it was, I didn't read up on it and get to the bottom of what they were actually looking at, but I think it's good that they're sorting it out, and hopefully by the time we get to Bathurst, we've got a whole heap of good cars that want to have a really fast and eventful race.
Yeah. The irony is that we've got one of the closest and best touring car championships in the world, and so we're at this point in development where we're splitting hairs. So and it's a byproduct of the trigger system that they've got in place with their fancy mathematical equations they use with the lap times and everything like that. And so that was triggered again. Interestingly enough, though, it came out today. via all the good news sources that they're reviewing the review system. So watch this space to see how that goes for the rest of the season. But we'll leave that one to Supercars HQ to hook in. Marshy, either of those or something else tickle your fancy?
Nah, it sounds like they're having a meeting to have a meeting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe.
No, not really. I think everything was, it's pretty good. The removal of turn 8 we've known about, but other than that, I think it's all right. We'll probably get to, I dare say, it's not parity, but we'll talk about fuel soon, I dare say. I know Matty
I reckon.
Very keen to talk about petrol, not prices, but
I am fueled up. Yes.
He's been around the Sea Trots fuel distributors and he's ready to go.
Yeah.
No, as you said, Buzz, there hasn't really been anything to come out of it. I think we had Golding's 200th race was on. I missed that on the socials as well until later. We had obviously some big numbers for Chazzy on 200 with Walkinshaw and their partnership. Again, big numbers, looked good. Good on Optus for stepping aside as well to let them have that 200 and not be plastered on the side of the car. But yeah, other than that, I don't think there's too much more from myself.
Not a problem at all, gentlemen. And it's time to roll on into a regular now on our recap pods for each round of the Supercars. And that is the Biti Motors Culcairn Big Moments. We each pick a moment that we thought was big over the weekend of racing and sort of chew that over a little bit in the context of the weekend or the season at large. And often we pinch them off each other. So we typically come with some backups. I'm one out today. So if you guys claim mine ahead of time, I'm going to be scrambling on the spot, listeners. There's a peek behind the podcast curtain. So, right,
you want to go first?
No, I don't.
Ooh,
so
okay.
I took first on everything last pod with the with our Membrey's Auto Electrics Spark It or Park It. So I'll go last here for the Biti Motors Culcairn Big Moments, and we'll let you, Marshy, open the bowling from the Great Southern Stand End.
Oh, okay. My big moment would have to be, I'm going to have to say, the little angry Kiwi in Ryan Wood, not happy with the treatment that he got from Kai Allen, and I don't want to bring this up, but gee, you got a little short memory there, Woody, in regards to rough racing, don't we? So I feel like, he was with, I can't remember if it was with Jess or the other presenter as well.
Rihanna.
Rihanna, sorry. Yeah, one of them, and he was being very sarcastic in the way in which he was discussing that turn where Kai sort of came down the inside and didn't leave enough room for him to turn, and he was a bit upset with a broken steering arm, and which ruined his race. So, yeah, I thought that was a big moment for someone to come out and go, obviously now we know how we can race when we all know sort of what happened last year. So I'm going to leave that one to bed with that one.
I'm also happy for him to be cranky. We need him to be cranky when stuff goes down.
Be cranky and be upset, but you can't be also going, oh, hang on, I didn't like what he did, when it was very similar to last year.
Matthew? Sorry, Marshy.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm good.
Right.
I was look. I've thought long and hard about where to introduce my talking points from the weekend.
Strategy.
So the big moment for the weekend gone. I wanted to talk about Triple Eight. You might have seen on our socials today that there's been a little bit of, I suppose, just some close eyes on Triple Eight recently. Let's not say they're underperforming. I think one very sharp, I suppose, social media person wrote that I think they're still in 2nd and 7th of the championship, so they're not doing too bad overall.
A lot of teams would take that.
Absolutely. But I think just looking at, like, we're always used to seeing Blade on the podium, or if not first, and on pole position, and they've had their cars so nicely tuned that we thought they were almost untouchable at stages of past years. So I think that's just something for us to keep watching. And over the weekend, you could see a few cracks emerging. Their drivers now are trying to go harder, I can see, and they're pushing the limits, so they're making more mistakes. And I think it's just a really interesting one for us to watch over the next couple of rounds, because especially Will is sitting on that limit of if he has a bad race, he could bump outside. And then that's really, I suppose, a big change for the Triple Eight team, because you'd expect them both to be there going through to the final series. So I guess that's just a watch and stay on top of. And I think over the next couple of rounds, I'll be really watching hard to see what they do. But I definitely think they underperformed on the weekend.
Absolutely, Matty. And at one stage for one of the races, they were both missed the 10. In another one, only one of them made the 10, or one of them only made it out of Q1. We'll cover that in the race recaps. And I guess we have here on our pod, but it more broadly in the supercars media space. We're going to Tasmania. It's a Triple Eight track. They're going to do really well down there. We're going to Darwin next. It's Triple Eight track. Traditionally, they're going to go really well there. And like Townsville's kind of been the third stringy in that. We said it on the preview pod. Perth's not out of the question in terms of a Triple Eight kind of track. They really have had this part of the season sewn up for a while. And obviously, Feeney just shot it to pieces last year. So, very astute with that one there, Matty. And lucky for me... Oh, sorry, Marshy?
No, you're right. Even just their qualifying and finishing results aren't up to where they were last year. And I know, obviously, Larko spent a good minute and a half describing the tools that they have and the tools that they don't have, and obviously coming across with a new car and being the Homoglodon team, that it's going to be tricky for them. But at the moment, Will Brown's average qualifying is 9.2, and Brock Feeney is qualifying 6th. That's his average across the year. When you think of last year, his qualifying he was either pole or he was second. And to drop down to 6th, that's quite substantial. In the last, what's he had in the last 6 races? He's qualified 7th, 12th, 16th, 4th, 6th, and 13th. So for Brock, that's unheard of from what we saw with him last year in regards to his pace and his skill. He's an absolute gun of a driver, but obviously just changing over and learning a new car and learning a new system obviously isn't working for those guys at the moment.
Yep, absolutely, Marshy. You're a bit crackly through there for our listeners, I think. So we'll see how that plays out in the edit. But all good. And Marshy just running some stats, so you might just have to put all those in the socials, mate, and put it out there for the listeners. I guess mine, I got lucky. You guys didn't take my single sole Biti Motors Culcairn big moment for the weekend. I know this will come up in the race recaps, but for me, it was the whole Tickford handling of Randall and Waters effectively for at least 2 of the 3 races. Friday afternoon, Randall was meant to pit, and last minute they changed Cam's strategy, and he came in. And lucky for Randall that he actually saw Cam enter the pit lane and peel himself. Now, it probably went over the radio, but it could easily have been a double stack situation and drop even a bundle of points, and that's ahead of not knowing what was going to happen on Saturday. And then he rolls out on Saturday, and they get the whole swap around and whatnot, and it, Cam's 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 3rd at the moment in the championship, and Randall's in the same bucket or bracket at least as Will Brown and Jack LeBrock and Golding and these guys on the edge there. And I just wondered whether that's going to come back to bite them come final time. We saw that at the end of Bathurst last year, where Feeney overtook Heimgartner with 300 metres of the track to go to change the top 10.
Yep.
So it's not that was by 1 or 2 points. So 7 could be enough to put Randall out, and as we sort of seen, having 2 cars in that 10 for that final situation is a much bigger advantage in the long run, and Triple Eight are at risk of that as well. Now, I think they'll make it, but Tickford are probably a little bit more wobbly with that Randall car on getting the 2 cars through. So thanks, boys, for not taking mine, but happy for you to chew over that as well if you want.
I think also too, Randall's missed a race, so he's also down on points from missing that race in Darwin. So you would have thought, trying to get him as many points as we possibly can. Cam's had a win on Friday. Yes, he's ahead. Well, he wasn't ahead of Randall on Saturday, but to overtake.
Ended
he was
up
never
there.
going. Yeah, he ended up there. I don't think he was going to catch. He was never going to catch Kostecki. I don't think. He was too far behind. But yeah, I just would have thought missing a race and then trying to get your driver who's on the bubble, as they call it, into that top 10. As you said, it's better to have 2 cars in there than 1. So yeah, I just don't know what they were thinking.
Not sure.
Sometimes I don't know if Tickford are thinking, to be honest.
And this is from a Tickford man.
I know. I've followed them my whole bloody life, and you see things like this where they're making really kind of short lead time decisions based on certain things playing out, which it just feels like it's a little bit loose at times, as opposed to kind of, you see, it's not often that you see a decision from Triple Eight turn around and everyone goes, "Whoa, geez, that was the wrong one." Even though maybe last round we did have one of those. So I think Tickford definitely kind of, it seems like they just kind of jump on a whim and change, and sometimes that really can screw over both drivers, to be honest. So yeah, I guess that's something to watch and see how that cascades now for Randall moving forward.
Yep, absolutely, Matty. Thanks, Marshy. Time to roll on into the NTI Townsville 500 recap. I guess I got just a couple of overall notes. Feel free to jump in as well. Sunny Queensland turned it on for Supercars being back in town, although the crowd was reported to be lower than last year. So we're recording on Monday night after the race. Huge shunts in the Aussie racing cars in the Porsche Michelin Sprint Challenge. Not sure if you saw any of those, but there were some absolute doozies. Ruben Goodall and Aaron Seaton, I thought, made good accounts of themselves over the weekend. So I guess as a whole, anything for you guys from the weekend before you get into the races individually?
I thought the bull riding was awesome, even though I didn't get to see it. I think they had who'd they have out there running around as well as one of the clowns?
Barry Ryan.
Barry Ryan. Yeah,
so good.
I thought it was awesome. And if that was on at Bathurst, I reckon they would get the biggest crowd they've had in Australia for the bull riding championship. So, no, I thought that was awesome, and the fact that it, like, all the drivers, like Chaz was walking around with his big hat on, and everyone was kind of amongst it. I just thought the vibe was really cool that they turned it on, and it was a bit of a bugger. I thought that the crowd was down because the activation around it was awesome.
It looks fun. It looks real fun.
Yeah.
Anything for you, Marshy?
This is probably a little bit of it. We sort of talked in the pre-pod in regards to no news, nothing coming up, blah, blah, blah. And then the next minute we get to Thursday and we've got DJR rolling out with a yellow livery. And it's like, hang on. Like, you've had, and it's to do with the Minions movie. And it's like, hang on, you've got a bunch of kids. It's a kids movie. Like, wouldn't you be going, let's try and boost merchandise sales or whatever? But you leave it to Thursday before the race and then it's done, been and gone.
It's the exact example you talked about in the pod.
I know. It's just... Anywho. But, yeah, I just think it's a bit silly when you're trying to... How do you put this? You're trying to bring two things together and then you only give it airtime for 4 days and then it's forgotten about. Whether or not they're running it again in Perth, who knows? But seemed to do Brodie well, but other than that,
Absolutely.
I don't think didn't do poor old Ryland much well. But... yeah, that was just... yeah, I found that interesting. The news cycles, as we discussed, coming into any round is quite low. So any news is news in supercars. So surely you'd want to be trying to get stuff out.
Yeah. I guess the only outlier in that particular one is probably whatever licensing agreement they could cut with the Minions crew, but couldn't agree more. You'd think it would benefit both parties.
Oh, absolutely.
Middle of the school holidays in New South Wales and Queensland. You're in Queensland. I don't know. It seems like a gimme, but you know what do we know? We're just the punters on the hill, Marshy. So, race 20, we had a win for Waters, Kostecki in second, and Payne in third. My general notes: Kostecki started off pole. Payne spoke of engine gremlins probably a few times, but early doors in that particular race. And I love Jack Bell's calm reply. It was just gold over the radio. When he was talking about dropping cylinders. So I love that. And I guess a bit of bias here for people that haven't been listening super since the start. I guess on the pod we had Jack Bell on the pod last year, so go back through the feed and find that one. It's a ripper chat with a ripper guy. Randall had his pit strategy changed to accommodate Cam. I kind of covered that later on. And for, I guess, a sprint race, I enjoyed it. It was just the wrong time. Should have been heaps later in the afternoon. But any hoozle, we ended up with 7 Fords, 1 Chev and 2 Toyotas in the top 10. The top 4 were Fords, which has been a pattern at times. And Ojeda was the sole Chev in that race. Takeaways, Matty, from race number 20, first race of the weekend.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot. The race was okay. It was probably not. I thought the middle race was probably more boring than the first. But in terms of excitement factor, I think taking it down to essentially the last lap, I think it was probably all wrapped up, but it was still tight. So yeah, I think if Kostecki had a couple more laps and a bit better strategy, he probably would have got it. So yeah, a good race all in all. No safety cars, was that?
Not in that race.
No. So I think that's another maybe little theme we can touch on later.
Keep track of. Absolutely,
no,
Marshy.
I thought, yeah. If you're right, I think they pitted Kostecki just that little bit too late. They should have pitted him a little bit earlier. And I think then he may have caught Cam with that sort of strategy. But yeah, they admitted the strategy didn't work for him. But other than that, yeah, it was good, fast racing to get the weekend underway. And good for Cam. It showed that he could carry that on from Darwin as well. That Tickford had something, obviously, that's working.
Yeah, for sure.
Up.
Catching Cam and passing Cam are probably two different things, though. If anyone was going to do it, you'd have to say Kostecki it'd be in that category. Yeah. I really enjoyed it, although it's a very infant part of the race, but the drag to turn one, sort of to get that happening where Cam got that job done on Kostecki there. We roll on into Saturday. Our race winner, Matty Payne, ADP for second, Kostecki in third. One of our punters that follow us on the socials wrote on one of the posts that Marshy put up talking about them being sequential order. We had 19, 18, 17, just car numbers. There's one of those little things that can pop up from time to time. Overnight, a DJR crew member had surgery on a busted finger from the pit stop on the Friday afternoon. So that required a replacement crew member for them. And TWG, so the Walkinshaw crew, with their Toyotas, changed both engines overnight as well. Ryland Gray made the shootout, just in terms of qualifying news, which was great. Like he needs a solid something, and
yep.
Just that little marker to say, hey, no, yeah, I can do this. And so a couple more of those by the time the year's out will be really positive for Gray. In terms of the race, early doors, Cameron and Golding came undone early in that race. ADP was kind of in there and around the frac car, but obviously recovered and made his way forward to second. Tickford swapping Randall and Waters. We covered that off in the Biti Motors Culcairn big moments. It's just why did they do that? Anyway, 888, their poor quality, which we've kind of covered off as well. But between them, they made up 18 spots across that race. So they definitely had the car pace at times, but obviously that one lap quality pace just isn't there at the moment. Allen and Wood had the bingle in that last complex, but we've covered that off with Woody running wide and having that I guess mechanical in the end, but effectively Payne really dominated the race as a whole. Had the little note about Saturday night and Barry Ryan riding being the rodeo clown, but we've covered that one off. So that gave us 6 Fords, 3 Chevs and 1 Toyota in our top 10. Race number 2, Matty wasn't a super fan of, so I'm tipping you've got nothing else to say about it.
Just that it was pretty boring, I thought. Payne was out there. And this is where the theme of the fuel-saving saga really started to rear its head. So I'm just going to start that off there, get the listeners thinking about it, and we'll get back to it later.
Pick it up later on, no worries. Marshy, race 21, the Saturday race 2 of the weekend.
I'm going to come back to 888 in regards to qualifying and just that silly, I don't know, a silly strategy of, I'm at the top of the leaderboard and I'm going to get out of the car and not go for one more run. Like, yeah, he missed out just, but you missed out. Like in a top 10, when you're still, we just said before, you're trying to get points, you're trying to get some consistency. You don't want to start in that mid pack, especially we can see what happens at turn 2, and just the chaos that happens there. Like, would you not want to be at the front and put all your chips in that and make sure, you know what, I'm near the front. Nothing else is going to happen. Try to make an excuse in regards to we wanted more tyres and didn't really matter anyway because this is where we were going to end up. And I was like, well, you're not really. If you had thrown a set on and you had got to the front, you could be pushing. He hasn't had a win all year, Will Brown, either. And as we did discuss, though, he had to fight back positions. He had to fight back, and he fought back 35 places over the weekend. Like, that's a massive amount of overtaking and things you shouldn't have to do if you get qualifying right. The other part of race 21 was qualifying for BJR. They were nowhere. Like, zero. They didn't even reach Q2. Like, that was terrible.
Wild.
Like, absolute. Not one of them. Like, you thought Andre might have got up in there, or even Cam Hill. Macaulay Jones usually makes it into that Q2, but then doesn't go any further. But they were nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. And I don't know what happened. They were nowhere all weekend, to be honest. But
well, Andre made the 10 on
he made the
Sunday.
10 Sunday, yes.
And it turned to, a mess quickly thereafter. But how do you go from 20-something to 10th? I mean, that is also a byproduct of the championship to a degree, but that's a big swing.
Yeah, but they were nowhere either. But I thought, race 21, obviously, Jack LeBrock made up heaps of places as well. He was fast. I think Anton he was quick as well. Obviously, had to come back through the pack again, make up positions because he qualified not very well. But I thought, well done to Anton. Obviously, flying this GM flag for everybody at this current stage. But other than that, JLB as well. Yeah,
he's trying.
He is trying very, very hard, very hard. But other than that, from race 21, Matty just absolutely killed it. What was he, 11 seconds ahead?
Yeah,
so far.
Maybe
so
even
far
a bit more. It was a lot.
Yeah, even more. It was a lot. Yeah,
absolutely. Roll on into race 22. We had Kostecki with the win, Payne in second, and Waters in third. I guess some notes ahead of time. I was watching the pre-quali on Sunday, and it was interesting to see Jess and Yates, that is, Supercars host, and James Courtney having a yarn pre-quali on the telecast, and James Courtney was basically very clearly saying that Tickford, they were chewing over what had happened the day before, just saying that clearly Tickford is Cam Waters' team, and that's just it. But was basically every other team in pit lane would be trying to get 2 cars in. They would have run the opposite strategy to what Tickford did.
Yeah.
So if that's what I guess he is there to add a bit of colour to the telecast and the conversation, but he's also got a huge career in motorsport and in supercars. So although he might be the fun, jovial type, I do take what he has to say fairly seriously in terms of knowing his stuff. So good one out there for our punters to have a think about. Marshy's touched on the awesome livery for Mozzie in his 200th race for the team. Brown didn't get out of Q1, just continuing those dramas. There was a concertina multi-car wreck with damage to Heimgartner, to Hill, to Golding, and to Macca Jones, who ended up with losing a wheel and half the rear assembly out of his car. There was a 15-second penalty for Cooper Murray that appeared not long later. Walls was up 11 spots as a result of all the drama. He sort of made hay while the sun was shining then. First round of stops around lap 18. Tickford got Goodall back in the game around the same time to get some laps for his wild card after he was caught up in that early drama. Wood basically just made a mistake and let Allen drive past him sort of circa mid-race. And with about 20 laps to go, our last round of stops were happening. Allen had a slight pit stop drama, and so that sort of put an end to his day. As we said, Kostecki, Payne and Waters winning that one, giving us 6 Fords, 2 Chevs and 2 Toyotas. Marshy, I'll give you first crack at race 22, our final race for the weekend. How did you see it, man?
I thought it was good. I think obviously Shell got the strategy right after the bit of a bungle in that pit lane on, was it Friday? No, it was Saturday as well, wasn't it? They had that strategy. Saturday, that didn't work very well for them there either. So obviously they got it all right in that regard. But yeah, I think it was, again, good racing, good fast racing, but just making positions up in different places. It was good actually to see blokes blocking and having to think about where you could pass and where you shouldn't be passing, and even people passing in the wrong spots that you wouldn't conventionally have. So, yeah, other than that, I think, race 22 was good. Well done to Brody. He obviously had pace and he was very, very happy in regards to getting there. And the old little burnout at the end with smacking it into the wall, a bit of Will Davidson, they were saying afterwards as well. But to come back through that, and then he comes back on the telecast, goes, "No, I never hit the wall." And it's like, well, mate, you can clearly see it. You've smashed the side. No,
it was pretty obvious.
Yeah, it was very obvious. It bounced pretty hard off a bit of concrete. But yeah, he's climbing again, I think, Brody. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have to be very careful and watch him. But that's my take from race 22.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and I reckon
Matty?
the only other bit for kind of race 21 into 22 was that I think Kostecki was pretty hard done by on the Saturday with the pit stop. He had the wheel nut that cross-threaded and couldn't go on, and then they had to flip it over. So for him to still come in third, I think it was a pretty significant thing. So it was nice to see him come back on Sunday and really bloody nail it, because I reckon he's had a bit of a rough trot with health and little bits and things that have just gone wrong. So so good on him. I reckon we're starting to see kind of the Kostecki that we saw at Bathurst that year, where he just kept going around and round and just absolutely nailed it. So that's exciting. I do think we saw a bit of cranky Brody as well after that pit stop. So that was also pretty exciting. But look, Sunday, I thought it was probably one of the more exciting races of the round, probably the exciting race of the round. And what started to come through for me, and this probably started a little bit on Friday, but absolutely on Saturday, was just this whole fuel saving piece. And I think for me, it's going to start to take away from the spectacle of V8 supercars if drivers are being told at the start of the race, you've got to find a couple of litres to get us to the right kind of refill levels so that we can get you the right amount and not keep you in the pits for longer. That was clear at the start of the race, that drivers had already been told, if you can get out and get some clear air, start saving some fuel, don't keep going hard. Now, that for me just doesn't cut the mustard. Like I'm all about a bit of fuel strategy, and if a team wants to push it and really go out to the limits, but there were so many drivers on the weekend that were all actively fuel saving, and I reckon that's a problem for the sport. Now, I did a little bit of research, and I'm not bang on with all the facts here, but I understand the change in fuel is to get to a renewable fuel, not just a high octane standard V8 supercar fuel. And I suspect that's for V8 supercars as an organisation to hit sustainability targets. Now, that, to me, is going to reduce the spectacle that we have in supercars. And if V8 supercars as an organisation need to be looking at the fuel they use, which is creating the spectacle that gets them the viewers, which gets them the money, as the best way to hit their sustainability targets, then I reckon they need to go back to the drawing board. And that's starting to show up. I found a quote from Team 18's Adrian Burgess saying that the category is turning into a conservation fuel cup rather than a sprint cup. Now, that's if they're coming out and saying that. Cam Waters was very vocal at the end of the weekend. And it just doesn't sit right with me. We've worked so hard to get parity. We've got new cars, we've got new makes, we've got everything back in, and now all we're hearing about is bloody whether they can save a bit of fuel and go a bit slower.
Imagine if we had the extra 2 laps.
Well,
I know,
exactly.
I know. Well, no, but that's now one of the strategies that supercars are going to reduce the laps so that it optimises the bloody fuel. And
Which
you're
we
like,
said
hang on.
last pod we're happy with, but that should be the canary in the coal mine, though.
Absolutely. Like,
Yeah, that
surely
should-
they've got to do something more.
You shouldn't be short fueling your car because now you're 2 laps shorter. Do you know what I mean?
Well, they're all going to strategize,
That's-
right?
well,
So
100%.
this is you've just entered this whole additional variable, and what worries me the most is that when we get to Bathurst, when it's a long race, and tiny percentages matter at Bathurst because you've got 1,000 laps, 1,000 kilometres. So
1,000 laps, we're there for
1,000 laps. We're there for a while. That'd go all the way into Monday. And be very dangerous. But if you think about what that's going to look like at Bathurst, and if they can't get that right from a balance perspective, then you're going to have huge disparity between the drivers and the cars. So that's something that I'm hoping we can get on top of. I don't know if I don't think they can go back to the old fuel blend. That's an option. I don't know if they can increase the fuel tank size. Is that an option?
At one point, I heard that they just chucked styrofoam balls in there to increase or reduce the size. So I don't know if that's still a current thing or not.
Well, it'd reduce the volume you can get in there. So that'd change the dynamic. But I was also thinking, because what this is also going to do to the racing is that it's going to stretch it out, because no one wants to race close to each other because you're going to waste more fuel because you get hotter and they're less efficient. Yeah. So you're going to stay apart more. So you're going to have drivers that are being told by their team to conserve. And that's what happened in the race on Saturday, where everyone was like, oh, right, I've been told I need to save a couple of litres every lap. So I'm not going to punch it and get those like microseconds back or the seconds back on the driver in front of me. I'm just going to keep it going and we'll just get some points. Like that's not racing. And unless then they start to say, well, because we haven't seen any bloody safety cars, that's my other gripe. Maybe you introduce some safety cars every 20 laps or something to bunch everyone back together if you're not going to do anything else. And then that gets them all a chance to... Yeah, exactly. And they do that in NASCAR every now and then as well. So is that something that you start to change? But all in all, I reckon something has to pop on that one, because it's only going to send the spectacle the wrong direction if it doesn't.
Do you think also too, it's also not got... I reckon it's got nothing also to do with the fuel. I think it's got to do with these fuel churns, with blokes who are having to lift them, and there's an OH&S capability of how much you're able to actually lift and put into the car. Does that make sense? Because you should be able to go.
It's the type of fuel that changed. It's still the same volume. You're just getting less out of it because
I know, but going back to why are we using? We should be then fill up more of that the churns, put more.
But then they limit the tank size. They limit the tank size, so that's all regulated. So this is the thing. It just doesn't seem right at the moment if they're having to drop laps or if drivers are having to conserve more often. Like you want a driver having to conserve for the last 2 laps because they're just going to sneak through on the smell of an oil rag.
From our 30 spots over the race weekend, we had 19 Fords, 6 Chevs, and 5 Toyotas rounding out our top 10 positions of those 30 spots. And head on into our Drivers' Championship. We've got Matty Payne now leading that ahead of Brock Feeney, Brody Kostecki, Cam Waters and Kai Allen, giving us 5 Fords in our top 5 before we get to ADP in 6th. Will Brown in 7th, Ryan Wood and Chazzy Mostert 8th and 9th, and Jack LeBrock hanging on to 10th by the skin of his teeth, James Golding and Jaden Ojeda, and Thomas Randall really close in that space, and Andre not too far behind either. Our teams' championships, we've got Penrite, Grove Racing at the top, Red Bull Ampol Racing and Monster Castrol Racing, the Walkinshaw TWG Group and Shell V-Power Racing giving us our top 5. Our next Supercars events will be the Bosch Power Tools Perth Super 440 heading across the Nullarbor in a few weeks' time, and this segment and the larger part of our pod brought to you, our listeners, by Biti Motors Culcairn. We'll be back very soon with Matty taking over the wheel. Righto, Matty, your turn, my friend. We've got Cobrapparel, snakes and ladders, and I'm thinking we might be in trouble. We might be in trouble here.
There's a bit of fun and games this week, gents. There's a bit of fun and games. Yeah. It's all happening. It's all happening. All right. So let's jump in. So you know how last round we had a little bit going on, and I went really bad. Marshy went really well. Bails just kind of stayed about okay. Yeah. So this round, I really had a bit of soul searching to do, and I've really kind of come up trumps. So
here we go.
So the low point for the round, because there has to be one, was Mr. Bails. 973 points. That's a pretty low score for a round.
Very low.
Yeah,
I don't think we've had 100,000 for a while.
There were low scores around. So he was 72 points behind Mr. Marsh at 1045, and then Mr. Marsh was 127 behind Mr. Aberline on 1172 for the round. So pretty happy with that myself. And then we've had a little bit of a change in the orders. So we've still got Bails. We've got Bails at the bottom. So he was not at the bottom last round.
Oh man!
So he's currently sitting at 7638 points, 179 behind myself at 7817. And then we've got Mr. Marsh leading the way on 7971. So still 154 points ahead. So going really well, Mr. Marsh.
Well done.
And there's it. Your top four, Will Brown, he's just been relatively consistent, not blowing anything out of the water. But Cam Waters, Kai Allen, Deepak, you've got a pretty good bunch up the top there, mate. So you're doing very well. Nice one.
Thank you. Cheers.
That's it for tipping of the round.
Beautiful. Thanks, Matty. And thanks to Cobrapparel there for our Snakes and Ladders segment, keeping us sorted. We'll be back really soon to wrap this one up, listeners. Righto, crew. Time to hand the reins over to Marshy with his international musings. What have you got for us since our last pod, Marshy?
I've got one race. That's all.
That's okay.
One race. It seems like the world has gone into supercar calendars and haven't worried about racing this year.
Let us have it, mate. Let us have it.
So this week we have got the NASCAR and we headed off to Atlanta, where SVG was. He qualified 12th. I'm pretty certain it was 12th. In a race where obviously it's good to start closer to the front than what it is at the back. A very interrupted race. So they had to call the race off at about 106 laps, I think they were into. I'm probably going to get it. And they called it off for lightning and storms. And then they resumed racing at 11 p.m. American time, obviously. For us, it's great because we just keep dragging it on. It just keeps going. And they finished the race at 2 a.m. They were still there racing. So, but our man SVG, so he was running fourth at one point, and at the later end of the stage with about 60-something laps to go. Kept bumping in and out of about top 10 into 13, 14, into 9, etc. And then with the last safety car, the last yellow flags and stuff, he was pushing into 6th, and he got into the second, the penultimate lap, and he was actually gunning it, and he got to, I think, second. It came up as P2, and then he's just sort of dropped away a little bit, and he ended up in P7 for nearly one of his best drives, I think. He was in that pack for a very, very long time. He had a little bit of a slide that he corrected at one stage as well and caught it, which was fantastic. But at the end of the race, Bubba Wallace also got a penalty, which then pushed him up to P6. So well done to SVG. He's coming if he can stay and qualify. Obviously, it shows you qualify well, you get to race at the front of the pack, and less stuff happens at the front, as we have seen in many, many car races. So well done to SVG. He's obviously coming. He's got a massive following across the supercars paddock, even if you didn't like Triple Eight, or you did like Triple Eight, or you liked Red Bull, whatever. But I think everyone's jumped on the bandwagon for SVG and just wanting to do really well over there, which is awesome. So that's it for international. F1 race in Belgium this weekend. I think IndyCar are back. I know NASCAR are back. They race every week. And we're back in 3 weeks, I think. So, well, we're not international. But that's
okay. But we'll have a bit for you to cover off in the next pod, Marshy.
There'll be a few.
Thank you, and a big thanks to our episode sponsors, Biti Motors Culcairn, Cobrapparel, and Membrey's Auto Electrical in Kundruk for helping us bring you the content you're listening in on Spotify, Podbean, or Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Facebook by searching the Round Bar channel, and you can also catch us on YouTube as well, again searching the Round Bar channel. But for now, everyone, enjoy your racing. Cheerio.